What's up, fandom? My name is Josh, and today I'm joined by two very special guests. We have the creators, executive producers of Glitch Text. We have Dan Milano.
That's me, hello.
And Eric Robles.
Robles!
I can't roll my R that much.
You did good. That was good.
You've got way more practice of the R's than I do.
Ven para acá, Eric Robles.
So how are you guys doing today?
Good.
We're great, man.
On this
We've been waiting ever since Glitch Text came out to do this interview with you, man. So
I mean, it's one of those, like, I know we had spoken back in 2016 about, hey, let's do an episode, guys. I'm just kidding. That never happened. Could you imagine though, if it was 2016, you guys are, figuring out what you want to do for the show, and I'm just like, hey guys, you guys want to come on the show? That's how I spoke in 2016.
Yeah, we would have said yes.
Episode 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see you in the future.
Yes,
Yep.
We'll see you 4 years from now, guys.
Yeah, we'll be like, we'll just put this in the oven for 4 years.
Oh man. So we're gonna talk about Glitch Text. So spoilers for Glitch Text, both seasons. We're not gonna do like a whole bunch of spoilers because, watch the show.
Yeah.
I mean, just like it's on Netflix. It's on that both seasons. Conveniently, both.
All the
seasons
answers you're looking for are on Netflix.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are 20 episodes, 19 but we count our two-part pilot.
The pilot, yeah.
Married is one episode, and it really is one large set that was split into 2 drops for Netflix. So to us, it was initially our season 1. To the Netflix audience, it's two drops of 2 Netflix seasons. But yeah, it's the full breadth of what we initiated when we set out to embark on these first 20 shows.
Yeah, Netflix does weird stuff like that. Like when they did Troll Hunters, it was like, here's like 9 episodes, and then you're like, well, how can you do like part 1 and then part 2, but then release them at the same time?
We used to say, how can you drop an entire season? That's crazy. Why don't you do one a week? And so they're doing things their own way.
Yeah.
What seemed to work for us is that if they had just dropped all 20 initially, it would have been, there and done. But they have very smartly grown the audience, because the first was kind of like a taste, and then people come back if they want more. They get this next set of 10. So that gave us the realization as it was happening that it gave it time to build.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think for them, they also just get 2 releases instead of 1. So it's just one of these new media things.
Yeah, I think it worked out to our benefit. Again, like Dan was saying, like it gave an audience to kind of discover it, and even now, like people are still discovering it and going back, and now they got 1 and 2 all together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been nice to kind of see the growth in the fandom for the show. So, I thought it was good.
Yeah, like I know a nice little 4-year-old who usually only watches True and the Rainbow Kingdom, but very loves Glitch Text. Very bright colors. He's like, yeah. So you've done well with at least one 4-year-old.
So congrats. Cool. A lot of people at Nick thought we were crazy when we said we wanted to appeal to everybody. We were like, yeah, we want to do little kids up through grown adults. Why pick boys and girls and other denominations and identifications? Like, let's just try to entertain everybody, maybe.
Yeah, and you guys do that because you guys have episodes based on like Castlevania and like Five Nights at Freddy and like DDR and Street Fighter, Candy Crush, The Faculty, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, whatever. That was way before me. So The Faculty, and you have lots of references.
That's not really based on a game. It's true, but we had it drummed into us very early by our mentors that the important thing is, even with all those high concepts, with all those references, with all those ideas, if you make the show really primarily about the characters, then that means you don't have to know those things to enjoy it. You can watch Castlevania or Castle Stein if you have never played Castlevania and don't know what it is, it's still an entertaining story about these characters. If you do know, it's this extra, you know, cookie center that, like, you know, you get to sink your teeth into. So that's something we were grateful for, that, you know, people really held us accountable for.
Definitely. I mean, and yeah, like your Body Snatchers episode, I mean, like, that's just popular culture. That's in everything.
Yeah.
They did an episode in Stargate SG-1. So it's like, yeah, if Stargate SG-1 can do it, you guys, it's free game. Just go for it, you know?
Today, games and movies, it's all genre. It's just all genre, and they translate back and forth between one another. So
yeah, and
you
can never like really get enough of it. You know, once you enjoy watching Aliens, like if, you know, another Aliens type movie comes out, you're like, I want to watch that. You know, whether it's good or not, that's totally up to whoever made it, and you see if they did well. But in general, you're like, yeah, I want to see more Aliens. Sure, why not? You know,
Exactly. Like, I've seen all the Alien and Predator movies.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I've seen them all.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. And if they make another one, I'll see that one too.
Yeah, I will too, I have to admit. And the Terminator films, a lot of these are Fox properties that they just seem to, like, you know, degrade over time. And yet I'm in on the core premise, and that's the thing I'm really interested in. You know, so yeah, there are things we'll just show up for, and they know that.
Yeah.
And some are better than others, and, you know, we know how hard it is to really make anything, and I think making something in the studio system is also very difficult. And when you deal with a franchise where there are probably many masters with opinions, that's nearly impossible. So sometimes it's a miracle these things get through it all, to be honest.
Really.
Okay, so we're going to do a little deep dive now. I want you to think back in the day. Both of you running around with your cool little, like, Skechers light bright shoes. You know, when you walk, they turn colors and everything. What were your favorite games growing up? Because I assume you guys may have played, or for at least familiar with, you know, video games and, like, board games and everything.
I'm gonna take it way back for a second. Channel F. Do you guys know this? Channel F?
I remember Channel F. That was like a cable.
No, it was an actual game system.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Channel F. Look it up. Tell your friends. You doing it now? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, looking it up.
Talking. Don't stop.
Okay, so anyways, Channel F was the first game system that came into our house.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Did you see who's involved in it, Dan?
Fairchild Semiconductor Company. No, I don't see who's involved.
All right, I'm gonna reel you in a little bit. See if you can guess this one. So we did an episode, right, with the classic video game, right?
Yeah, like Pong.
And who did we reference in that show?
Gerald Lawson?
Yeah, dude.
This was Gerald's.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's right. I just saw the documentary. It just blanked on it. Yes, so Gerald Lawson did the first software, basically the first cartridge video game, and our character Jerry Lawson was named after him. So that you had that system, I never knew.
Yeah, that's the first one my dad brought to the house, and it had what did it have? It had like tic-tac-toe. It had Pong, like a version of Pong, right? It had tic-tac-toe. What I remember constantly, because I would play my sister, is when you lost at playing tic-tac-toe, it would say, "You lose, turkey."
So stupid, but it was a miracle that there could be text and eventually speech. Yeah, we had Pong. We had the original Pong for a little while. That was our first dinosaur.
Yeah, and then of course after that, comes all the arcade games. You would go to the arcade, play all the games, right? Like again, you would play the Defenders, and you play like Centipede and Yar's Revenge and all the
Star Wars, and yeah.
And then we never got actually the Atari. We got ColecoVision. And then
where you got to put the cool little like piece of plastic on your TV, yeah.
Yeah, well, you could buy the adapter so you could play all the Atari games.
Yep, change the controller, change the screen.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, anyways, those were a little sample. Zaxxon, I don't know if you remember those, but like.
I would always go to. I didn't have any game consoles other than Pong, and I would go to Phil Altier's house, who Phil is named after, and play his Atari. He had all the Atari systems. He had ColecoVision. I don't know how many lawns he mowed to pay for all that stuff, but he had like every system up through the NES and the Super NES. So I just used to play at his house all the time.
It would have to be a lot of lawns because that was like $170
Yeah,
back then.
and he did. He was the hardest working kid I know to this day. He always held a job or two jobs. You know,
and he's still a kid, which is crazy.
Yeah, he never aged.
Never grew up.
Yeah.
Just like Peter Pan.
Right.
So like, what was the name of your arcades called? Because I want to know. Now I want to know, because I came from a little town in Oklahoma, little Shawnee, Oklahoma. So I want to know who has the best arcade name.
I can't. We had Rolls, which was really a roller skate place, and Chuck E. Cheese, which was absolutely the Chuck E. Cheese in Suffolk County or Comac, New York, was enormous. It was like the size of a warehouse, and it was just filled. It was a maze of games. Parents would just never see their kids again. So we didn't have like a real sexy named arcade. It was just the roller rink and Chuck E. Cheese where I grew up.
Yeah, 7-Elevens were big for us. So out here in LA, there's 7-Elevens at every corner. So wherever you see ATM machine in a 7-Eleven is where arcade machines used to be.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So that was big, but we did have arcades. But to be honest with you, I can't even remember the names. It just said arcade out front. But 7-Elevens were huge for us because that's where we would all get together, hang out with our friends. We would all meet there. And luckily there was an arcade next to school. So once we heard the first bell ring, hurry up, second bell, we're out of here. All the kids, go back to school. And which inspired my first show, Fanboy and Chum Chum, was all arcade, hanging out at convenience stores and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But so we didn't have an actual, I don't remember the names of the arcades that we would go to because there was two major ones I remember going to, but I remember the names. They just said arcade out front.
We just had one in the mall because when I was growing up, there was one thing to do in Shawnee, and that was the mall. That was it. We had one mall, and yeah, that was it. It had the Walmart attached to it at the beginning, so like you could go from Walmart into the mall.
Yep.
Or from the mall into Walmart. It was beautiful.
Magical.
Yeah.
And then they decided to move Walmart literally maybe 30 feet across the way. And so there was just like this like storage area for the mall for the longest time. And then the mall went downhill. But I guess. But our arcade was called Tilt. And I love that arcade so much.
That's a good name.
Well, yeah, I really do. I love pinball. That's a whole other place to go.
Oh yeah. Real quick, this is gonna be for Dan, because I mean we're not from LA, but Dan, is it weird like when you came here and like all the 7-Elevens like didn't have gas? They were just like standalone 7-Elevens.
Yes.
I've seen like 2 7-Elevens in all of Southern California that actually have gas pumps.
Yeah.
Why would a 7-Eleven have a gas pump, bro?
Because it's a gas station.
That sounds weird.
Yep.
But like I got here because like I like the first time I was here, I was like, okay, I gotta get some gas, and I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, there's a 7-Eleven. Like that's sweet. I'll just go to 7-Eleven. I'll get a big gulp, and I'll get gas. I pull in, and there's no gas. And I'm just like, what is this?
Now what?
Sorcery, some sort of trickery on my phone. So I went to another one and it was like, no, we don't have gas here either. And I was like, why does none of these 7-Elevens have any gas?
And then you ran out of gas.
Yeah. Thank goodness there was an Arca like right there, and I was like, Oh man. Okay. So another thing that we do, like we're called What's Up Fandom. We talk, movies, games, books, all that fun stuff. So I want to know what's your favorite movie, because you guys, like I said, you guys do a lot of movie references in here. There is a nice one, a nice Aliens one, which was I think was like Get Away from Them, You Glitch, which
Hmm.
I thought beautiful. So what are your favorite movies?
Oh
You thought you
man.
were just going to talk about glitch text on this show. You didn't
Well,
think
that's
that he
a
was going to
yeah,
ask you
man. But
about.
that's like that's a tough one, right? Because we're kids who grew up in the '80s, man. So Dan and I really connect. We connected specifically with Ghostbusters. That's where all this crazy journey began for us, is connecting to that movie and saying like, hey, when I presented this project to Dan, it's like, hey man, this is like a Ghostbusters with video games. And I knew I had him. I just had to say Ghostbusters and that was it.
Yeah, he really did. He really did. I had been wanting to do a Ghostbusters type property, or to be involved with Sony's Ghostbusters, like for decades, like ever since I was 12 or 13 or whatever, and saw the first movie, and the one I really just like the most. There is really just the one movie for me, although the others are fine. um, and we're 80s kids, so I appreciate a lot of 60s, 70s films, for various reasons. But when you're talking about something that would influence glitch text, then we were the kind of sugar cereal Saturday morning cartoon generation, and we were going to the movies and seeing things like E.T., Gremlins, Goonies, the Spielberg, Lucas
Yeah. Big Trouble in Little
generation.
China.
Yeah.
You
Big
know.
Trouble in Little China, man, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my
only
gosh,
thing I
The
remember from
Fly.
that movie
Yeah, man.
was the hand sign.
Oh, well, it's so good. You can watch it right now and you'll be like, oh, this is gold. I forgot.
David Lynch films. So you had the fantastical kind of popcorn, high concept stuff that was beginning, but you still also had a lot of respect for 60s, 70s filmmaking, and there was a lot of story, a lot of character. The one area you can argue Ghostbusters is a little deficient maybe is in the character building. It's just really funny, charismatic leads. They don't change or go through a deeper story. But what we always talked about loving about that movie and some of the movies like it was the accessibility. The kids in Gremlins and Goonies seemed like people we knew and hang out with, and when supernatural crazy things happened to them, that really connected with us. um, you know in Back to the Future, the idea that somebody could take an ordinary car and turn it into a time machine was more realistic than something fantastical from the future. Or that the Ghostbusters just knew what parts to buy at Home Depot to create these packs, and so the fact that you could drive by an old firehouse and think that there might be a Ghostbusters recruitment center inside was really part of what attracted us, that it seemed possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we wanted glitch text to be. For every kid who saw a Geek Squad car drive by, they could think like, oh, I wonder if they're really
It is
glitch
actually
text.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I think what the movies gave us was like a sense of play, but something that we also like triggered our imaginations in a way that felt real.
Nice. Yeah, I was talking with my buddy Jason Simpson from the Dragon Prince last night. And I was telling him about like how we were going to do this episode today. And he looked at the tag for the show and he was like, it seems a lot like Pixels, or sounds a lot like Pixels. And I just described it as, it's like Pixels and IT Crowd and Superstore all kind of mixed together.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't even think about Ghostbusters. I was like, oh, but yeah, Ghostbusters
Yeah,
is a
it's
better way to say
generational.
that. Yeah.
It's there for those who know, and again, and if not, just like we were saying about Castlevania, these things are like, they're in the DNA, but if you haven't personally experienced them, it's fine. We all have our own point of access.
So let's actually talk about glitch checks now. The reason that I brought you guys on. So what kind of what brought around the idea for glitch checks?
Yeah, I mean, it all started again.
Was it just the love of Ghostbusters?
It
It
was.
like just Ghostbusters. We just
I
want to
know
do
it was.
Ghostbusters, but we can't. But we can.
No, I mean, look, it's easy to say. You know, we're all inspired by something at some point that sparks something in us, right? And for me, I was going through, you know, I had an overall deal over at Nickelodeon after I had finished Fanboy and Chum Chum.
Mhm.
They put me on an overall deal, and I was, you know, in my office, you know, trying to get inspired, you know, coming up with concepts. And I went through a whole week where I was watching the real Ghostbusters, the animated series that was
Mhm.
done in the 80s. And I just had that playing in the background and just kind of enjoying it while I would be drawing. And then I just said to myself, I was like, man, it sucks that Sony isn't doing something, an animated version of like Ghostbusters. And this is way before I even heard that they were going to do the, you know, revamp of the movie. I was just thinking like, man, if there's an IP out there that can be done animated, like really cool, would be this again. Because I love that they could mix in, you know, the funny with the horror, and just kind of like, it just felt so cool how they can dive in on the creepy side of things and also have fun at the same time.
There's a lot of genre bending of action, comedy, and horror. All.
Yeah, and that's what the movie did so well as well. Like, you know, it's so crazy to see how it can look really scary, but at the same time you're having a lot of fun. And I just love that. And I was like, you know, if I was working at Sony, I would definitely be pitching this, say like, hey, let's do this, right? But obviously I wasn't, and obviously I was at Nickelodeon, so I was like, what would be another version of this? And then that's when I kind of, you know, came up with the idea of like video games. What if video game monsters would come out of consoles that would glitch? And when they would glitch, whatever you're playing at the time would actually start morphing in front of you while you're playing it because of the glitch. And then the concept just got bigger, and saying like, oh, what if there was a company that made the greatest, like if there was like a monopoly of all the great, you know, video game companies that eventually just came together to be the ultimate video game console out there, right? What would that be? The most amazing, powerful, like console you can get. But the problem is they sold too many, and they're out in the universe now, right? Everybody has them, and you can't put the cat back in the bag, right? Like, so now that these things happen, it would cost them billions of dollars to basically try to put that cat in the back once they discovered that they had the faulty consoles. So instead of doing that, you know, they went to the next best thing, which is recruit teenagers who are amazing at playing games, and then just make them the IT kind of superheroes to go take care of their big company problem. Kind of, that was the general, but that was more of the big concept of what that was. But what really fell in love with was the idea of a day in the life of two characters that have a job and that have probably been doing it kind of like Ghostbusters. They've been doing it for a while. They're very casual about it. And I ended up boarding up a sequence that was an intro of two characters. You have no idea who they are. They just roll up to a house in a van, and they're having a full discussion about like why I think this game is better. The other guy's saying this game is better, and they're having a real deep discussion, very like Pulp Fiction, like, you know what I mean? Like talking about like, you know, the quarter pounder, right? And so they're having a deep discussion about video games, and they're rolling up to a house. You know, they're there for a service job, but you have no idea why they're there until like everything unleashes in front of them. And then that just kind of the seed of what that was, which eventually, like once I had this, I was like, wow, that's really fun. But I had put it away, and I kind of forgot about it until like the president at the time was Russell Hicks at the studio. He came down to my office like he would every once in a while and pull out my box of ideas that I had under my desk. He would go through a bunch of stuff, and he found like this storyboard I had done. And he says, hey, what's this? And I pitch it to him, and he's like, this is great. Put this in development. And I was like, holy, like just like that. And so immediately I sent it off to Dan, because we had worked together on a previous project before in development that didn't pan out for whatever reason. But then I sent it to Dan, and in typical Dan fashion, which I love about Dan, is that like he will take whatever you give him and come back with like, you know, 20 pages of notes on what you just kind of like gave him. And that's what he did. He fell in love with it immediately. As soon as I gave it to him, I'm like, Dan, here's this idea. And like the next night he was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is great. This is what it could be. This is the potential of this thing is huge. And then I'll let you take it from there, Dan.
Well, yeah, just you know, the lore of it spoke to me in the way it could sort of, there could be stores in every town, every city across the world, and like all the stuff I had always wanted to see Ghostbusters do, to again make it accessible to people. And also it was just fun to look back at a series that, you know, for kids who want to go and Google the real Ghostbusters, it was a legit anime series, one of the first American series that was produced as anime. I think Transformers was the other. It was the early days of DIC Entertainment. I think they had a deal with the Coca-Cola company and Sony to produce these episodes. So it's, the first few seasons are legitimately impressive animation, and the stories are Monster of the Week, some are goofy, but others are memorable. There's some very scary episodes. I believe the show was written by people who used to write for Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. The head writer won an Oscar for the movie Changeling with Angelina Jolie. So it's like, it was good writing. So anyway, that was an inspiration too, to say, let's do genre, let's try to bring back some really impressive animation, and let's try to write something sophisticated that's not, you know, just going to pander for the kid audience.
And yeah, I think you guys definitely did that because, you know, most animation, I mean, is for children. One would argue.
And that shouldn't mean.
Oh, definitely,
anything,
definitely not.
But often it does, yeah.
Yeah, I like just going back to our 4-year-old friend Remy. There's True in the Rainbow Kingdom, and then there's glitch text.
Yeah,
like, and whenever he's over here, like, because like they come over here for Disneyland, like he and his parents, they come over here for Disneyland. So I've watched a lot of True. I'm not gonna lie. Our 200th episode of our last podcast, The Animation Station, was episode True 100, just because I could make a pun. So yeah, I'm all for that. But yeah, like between the two, like with glitch text, like, you know, again, it's, you know, a show for, you know, one would say, again, animation show for kids, but like this show, it's just good. Like there's no, it doesn't have like that, you know, like the Robot Chicken or like the Family Guy type of aspect to it. It's just, one, it's good animation, which thank you for making good animation, which you don't get all the time nowadays. You get really weird animation.
That's a whole nother podcast, by the way.
Oh yeah. Animation styles. Oh yeah.
It's very hard for creators to have control of that sometimes. We are extremely fortunate that Eric and others on our team were very ambitious, and that Nickelodeon really did you know, help us pursue that and figure it out. I mean, that would have not been possible at most studios, I don't think.
Yeah, our supervising producer, Ian Graham, like, you know, he was my right-hand man going overseas and, you know, setting up studios in France and just, you know, making sure that, you know, we hired like top talent that we were fans of as animators to really kind of get them involved in this project. And we literally opened up a studio, you know, out in France to specifically nurture this talent that we wanted to work on our show.
And a specific pipeline based on some stuff that Ankama Studios was doing in France, which inspired Eric, and you know, yeah, I mean, it was just great. And again, you know, that's a big deal for Nickelodeon to say, hey, you guys have this property nobody's ever heard of. It's completely original. You want to go outside the normal system and pursue something that's a little bit radical, you know, and it can make them nervous at times, but they supported it, you know. I mean, the show we've got is because we were able to cultivate it there. So, you know, people are aware that there've been so many regime changes at Nick and with Viacom and Viacom CBS and Viacom CBS Paramount and blah, 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 over the years. And some of that has affected us, and it's been rough here and there, but this show would not exist if not for the team that was at Nickelodeon when we were developing, and it was unheard of. We just feel like the luckiest people that we got to, you know, do half of this work, much less 20 episodes.
Yeah. Oh, so Eric, big fan of Wakfu and Dofus?
Oh, dude, that's what I'm thinking. That's what got me on this journey, man, for the animation style. You know, Wakfu back in 2006, I think I discovered it. And then I had joined their Kickstarter to.
Did you just join this last one?
Yeah, this last one I have donated, but.
Yeah, same, right there with you.
Yeah, so that first one that they did to dub all their stuff in English, I was a part of that whole thing. And then because of that, I really wanted to pursue that style of animation because I thought it was the smartest production techniques that they were doing, because they would do everything in Flash, right? The talking head stuff. Mm-hmm. And then they would put all their energy, like anime, they would put all their energy in these amazing fight sequences. And, that French anime kind of style was just like amazing. And I was like, that's so smart. That's how you do it. You spend all your money in all these great action sequences, and then all the talking head stuff, you can just use your puppets and your rigs. And I was like, that's what we need to do. And so when we were building the pipeline, I was looking at what Wakfu and Dofus had done, obviously at Studio Ankama. And the original test was actually Ankama. They did our test for us.
Oh.
So yeah, and that was hard as well, because the owner of the studio, like I had, Dan helped me write this love letter to him and saying like, hey man, I love what you guys done, and I was part of your Kickstarter back in the day, man. Take a look at what we've done. If you'd be interested in animating and producing this with us, we'd be honored. And we took a trip down there and met with him, and I checked out the studio and all the facilities, and they agreed to do a pilot for us, which we did, just like a test, and it turned out amazing. And even though it didn't work out ultimately because it was too expensive to do it, we now had the bar of what we wanted to accomplish because of that test. And because time had passed, a lot of the employees that had wrapped up on Dofus were now without jobs, and we were just starting up a studio. So we ended up.
So you were able to get these people.
Yeah, we're like.
And they remembered our test, so they were some of them were even asking about it. They're like, "What happened with that show? Because we're on hiatus. We need work." And it was like amazing timing.
Yeah, the timing was perfect.
Yeah,
that's awesome, because I love Wakfu. It's one of those, like, we did an episode on Wakfu, and we did an episode with Jules DeYoung, who voices like everybody in that show basically. Yeah. She's like Hugo, she's the Evangeline, she's pretty much anyone who's there. But like that Wakfu episode, it still gets downloads. And I'm just like, man, I should really do another one of those. Just because, I don't think the quality was there when we did it. Because it was one of those, like, I think I was doing it with somebody who, like, wasn't really a fan of the animation style. And I was like, you're crazy. And, like, wasn't a fan of the story. So it was me just basically, like, gushing about it. And her just kind of be like, And I was just...
Yeah, go take it apart and go find these people. It's with social media now. We were able to have our crew communicate with overseas animators eventually, and we still are in communication with them post-release of the show. And we really think it's great when people bring visibility to the companies and the individuals in the companies that do all this work, because it's also well known how hard people work to dub anime, to make animation, to ink, and to animate and to design. And and as hard as they work, they're not always like paid well, they're not always known, but the more people know their names and start to follow them as individuals and become interested in their work and what shows they do, the better. So that Ankama definitely deserves a look for how much they've innovated and influenced. And we're proud that GlitchTex is kind of like this odd little cousin who kind of followed in their example, and we hope that it trends to others. We think that the Toon Boom and hand animation are going to kind of become pretty big for films and television.
Yeah. Let's kind of okay, so this is going to be fun. I'm going to go through the characters and you guys get to correct me, because I'm going to butcher names. It's just the way it works.
Let's do it.
So we've got 5 Hector. Okay, so real quick. So I rewatched both seasons again, starting yesterday to kind of prep to make sure I remembered everything. We don't get it. Like, what? Why is Hector called Five? Like, what's like? Why is that his gamer tag?
I mean, that was a nickname.
What's your
you know,
gamer tag?
For me, I'm a
Which
little.
one? Which one? I used to be like when I played
Just
Halo a
one.
lot.
Just give
I
me one.
used to be a bunch of kittens. So
Wait, I didn't hear this. What happened?
So
I
whenever
asked
we
his
played
gamer tag.
yeah, my gamer tag. So when I was really playing games online,
Wait, what is the gamer tag?
the gamer tag is a bunch of kittens.
Okay.
So you would either get killed by a bunch of kittens, and that's just like, oh, a bunch of kittens killed me, or you would kill a bunch of kittens and be like, I hope you feel bad now.
Right, because it'd be you were killed by a bunch of kittens.
Mm-hmm.
You killed a bunch of kittens. That's
yeah,
smart.
like drive a warthog, you got splattered by a bunch of kittens. You'd be like, wonder what that looks like. Is that like a kitten stampede coming at you?
That's pretty sophisticated thinking, man.
Yeah, I don't know why Ash goes by Ash. I'm sure his name is Ashley or something else. We talked about reasons he might be named Five, like emotionally and all that, but like it's just fun to call dude high five.
I used to also, like, I remember going out with friends, and whenever we would just go out in general, like, we just high five, man. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's like your little victory high five, right? So I always imagine like high five every time he would win, like people would just high five him.
He'd be like high five. I like that. Because I mean, like Miko, like the me KO, like that one's good. Like that's like.
And that fits her character, right? Like it fits her character. High five is definitely the guy, like you would high five, like, dude, you did it, awesome, like great job.
Yeah, and friendly and positive, and then sort of like sweetly aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Prisoners.
Okay, so we have Five voiced by Ricardo Hurtado. Hurtado. I got Ricardo right.
Yeah.
Then we've got Miko, Monica Ray.
Yep.
That one I think I did pretty well.
Next.
We have Bit voiced by some guy. We've got Phil, Scott Creamer.
Yep.
Kramer.
We just had him on the show to do a Jurassic World episode, and so like
He's
before amazing. I was like, so is it Creamer? I want to make sure. I don't want to like.
It would freak out our
wrong.
production to hear him because he was head writer of Pinky Malinky, which was on our production floor at Nickelodeon, and so the storyboard team, a lot of the people on the show hadn't really met him yet, but they'd be like, I think I hear Phil. They'd like take their headphones off, and then eventually everyone realized, like, oh, that's him. He works here. That voice is so signature, and the part was really, written for him, to be honest, because we knew him.
Yeah, if I've known Scott for many years, and he is Phil, like literally, even in animation, where it's like he acts like, oh God, this is a burden, like, oh, the job, oh, the industry, right? But that's just the front for how much he loves. It's like the complete opposite.
He's a
like
very
the front. He loves the industry. He loves the artist. He loves all of it.
I'm glad you said that, because when he did our episode, he was very much like Phil, and I was like, oh no, it's not good. No.
That's who he is.
But no, Scott Kramer, he was, super nice dude. We have Mitch, voiced by Luke Youngblood.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I love that, his hairstyle change, towards the end of that second season. Like, but I like that a lot better than like that pompadour that goes on. Like, okay, here's where we're gonna get tough. We have Zara,
played by Zara
Fazal.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Bergie, Josh Sussman.
Mm-hmm.
Hanesh, Sandeep Pakir?
Sandeep Parikh as Hanish.
Yeah. And then for season 3, I was told that you guys are going to add a podcaster. just saying.
Yeah, it's in the works.
Yeah. Just let me know. I'll send my reel.
Alrighty.
So basically, you have this ridiculous cast, phenomenal, by the way, like the voice acting, Love it. You have a very diverse cast. How important was it creating this show to show a large, a large diversity or a large, wow, I can't talk, to show so much inclusion in your cast?
Yeah, there's so many different people.
Yeah, man.
It was super important. Go ahead, Eric. It really began with your initial characters.
Yeah, I mean, look, High Five is a version of myself, a Latino kid, growing up out in LA and all that good stuff, and to be honest with you, like growing up out here in LA, it's always been about diversity, and I didn't have a name for it. I didn't even know I was in a world that was diverse. It's just born and raised out here. You're just mixed in it all, and especially in more of like the poverty, I grew up in a poor area, so you're just mixed in it all. And you can go into an Asian-run liquor store and it's no big deal. That's just what it was. And you can have African-American friends. You can have but to be honest with you, man, these are all labels. I never even thought about all this stuff. Like I never said like, oh, that's my African-American friend and that's the Asian owner. It just was the neighborhood, and you grew up in the neighborhood and the neighborhood's all mixed up, and that's just growing up in LA. That's always been a big part of it for me. And so I never saw the big difference in all that stuff. It just was part of the world. I think that glitch text in particular really kind of opened the door for the diversity and for us, because I know when I was doing Fanboy and Chum Chum, it wasn't like I was doing a Latino kid. It was just a kid, and I didn't think about the race or any of that stuff. It was just a generic kind of like kid. I didn't think of it Latino, white, or anything. Like it was just a kid. But this one, because it felt so realistic, like the foundation of it felt like it needed just to kind of like open its doors to what we know now, like, being around, especially out here in LA, being around like so many diverse type of people.
Yeah, the realism was the whole thing. We wanted to ground it. The other thing to go to Ghostbusters one more time is that the signature image of that movie when we were growing up was like this stupid giant marshmallow man that is from the end of that film, juxtaposed with like New York City in the early 80s, which was still like a fairly, grimy, city. And so the juxtaposition of that was so important. The Marshmallow Man is funny if he's in the, root of New York. So the more real the cast, the more incredible the things that they go up against. And so you don't want a cast of like kind of unrelatable cartoon kids, because there's no contrast there. You want people who are hopefully like the people the audience knows, and to us, we grew up with a certain amount of diversity, and then we worked with it. We worked with people of all, backgrounds at Nickelodeon, and drew inspiration from the people we were working with at the time. And Monica, Ray, and Scott were two people who we knew as we were developing the show, and who became part of it early on. Eric brought himself to the character. I brought aspects of my personality to some of them. And then as you add writers and consultants and artists, they all bring their truth. And so it just starts to grow. And the one place it was slightly conscious too is that maybe you are from somewhere in the country where there isn't a lot of diversity and a lot of people look like you. But if you're playing video games and you go online, I guarantee you are in a huge melting pot.
Yep.
So the other thing is to reflect video game culture, that diversity is so important. And as far as that goes, we've barely even scratched the surface, because there's so many differently abled people. There's so many people with different personality type, and it's not just about race, and there's gender identities and orientations, and everyone plays video games. So it would be, would not be truthful if we tried to pretend it was just about like cute white dude gamers, or like, or there for a long time, a female gamer character was considered like a unicorn. because they supposedly didn't exist. But the truth is, females have been half the gaming community for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just time for somebody to like nudge the camera in that direction to look at it,
Yeah. Like, that's one of those things that like I've never got, because I mean, like, my best friend growing up, Kelsey, she was like the best at any game. She could touch anything and just beat it. Like, I sat with her one afternoon while she just destroyed Donkey Kong Country, and I was just like in awe. Like, I couldn't get past that part. Like, I couldn't get off the beach, and she's just like mowing through everything, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that's it, man. And that's why, like, we're really proud of just kind of, to be honest with you, it's like even the show when we're making it, we weren't thinking of the heaviness of the diversity. It just became a crew of people we wanted to work with, and they all had voices, they all had opinions, and we wanted to welcome everybody's voice and opinions to the show. We had a very, I want to say, abnormal production, which is, I think, what made us special at the same time. Like, Dan and I wanted everybody to be a part of this and learn and, say what they wanted to say. The consultants were huge, having everybody just kind of like be a part of the creation of this thing was was important for Dan and I. So, I think it benefited the show ultimately, because again, Dan and I always have to filter it, right, ultimately, but we were always open for the conversations and to really kind of acknowledge what people were trying to say when they had something to say.
Nice.
We literally posed it to them, like, because they're all pop culture obsessive people. And it's like, well, when you were growing up, what did you not get that you wanted more of, and what did you get lots of that you felt fortified by? So that really helped create a roadmap for us of like the kind of depictions that they wanted to put out there in the world, and for kids who were like them and didn't have that previously. So that really helped us make some very specific decisions about our characters and our stories.
And yeah, like just going on, you guys have a very talented pool of writers for your show. Like Dan, you write a lot of episodes. Ashley Birch wrote, like, she did like 5 or 6 episodes, which I remember watching her. I would have been in my teens and like watching her do her like, "Hey Ash, what you playing" stuff. Like, and I loved those so much because they were just always, one, they were always spot on, like, and they were always very clever. And like, yeah, just what you guys do in this show, love it. Like, the writing's spot on, like all the references are spot on. The little one-liners and little jokes and everything are trickled in there that I think are great. There was an Addams Family one that I had to like rewind and be like, did they just do like Addams Family? And I was like, yep, it was Addams Family. I was like, man, that was there. There's like Scooby-Doo, and like there's a Halo one, like all kinds of really fun little things. And I think that just like helps with your identity as a show, to where it's like, yeah, like this is for kids, but it's also for everybody. Like, everybody is included in this, no matter age, walk of life, video game knowledge. Because I mean, like, yeah, like was Miko's sister plays like Candy Crush, and because it's an app, it's not a game, it's an app. So I was just like, yeah, that's clever, because like I went to high school with people that they wouldn't play video games, but like they would play like Snake and everything on their phone. I just like dated myself. We play like games on their phone and everything, and be like, that's,
and gamification in general is huge. In a way, the glitch tech job is almost like a satire of the fact that most companies do now gamify the workplace, and where you don't just like work to get a promotion, you unlock achievements and you achieve levels, and and you can be 80 years old and clipping coupons when you go shopping, and I guarantee you that they're now playing a coupon game and they're unlocking levels. I mean, a punch card at a sandwich shop is a tier based on like Gary Gygax's D&D. It's a tier system of unlockables and rewards and treasures that you earn for your experience. So that is so permeated our culture at all these different levels, and it's fun to see where they intersect. And that became like definitely a huge part of the show, to kind of just show how gaming is in all aspects of our lives. And so is pop culture. So it's hard to get networks to sometimes sign off on this, but what I liked about some of like Joss Whedon's early work when he was doing shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer is his characters would occasionally reference pop culture. They would talk about famous bands. They would mention Scooby-Doo because they were a genre show, but the characters were smart. And they knew that they were getting into situations that felt very Scooby-like. So they became
Well, I mean, consider they called themselves the Scoobies.
Yeah.
Like, that was...
So that is great. You know, when Miko wants to, you know, acknowledge that her sister doesn't know what she's talking about, she can call her a muggle. And when, you know, if she wants to call something mysterious and spooky because she knows what Adam's family is, or she says Jinkies because she found a secret door. Right. How many friends do you have who talk with quotes and who spit out, you know, these little like pop references? You can't do it too much, but if you do it a little bit, it's part of what makes them sound like they live in the same world as us.
Right.
So
yeah.
That was
My best friend now, I think we live in the same apartment complex, her and her husband, and I got them turned on to Letterkenny. And it's just been Letterkenny quotes for the past week and a half. It's just like boom, boom, boom. And I'm just like, I got to rewatch the series. Cause like I had watched it already, and then we do it every Friday night. They come over and, you know, we'll either get food or I'll make food. And then we've been playing Mario, like Mario All-Stars on the Switch. And we finally beat that horrible game. I'm just kidding. I love it. But like that Superstar Road thing at the end is terrible. But we finally beat it. So I was like, okay, let's watch 2 episodes of Letterkenny, because I've been trying to get them to watch it for years. Just like, yeah, watch it. And so they watched it, hooked on it, did all 8 seasons, which is not that much because there's only like 8 episodes a season. Did all 8 seasons in, you know, a weekend.
Amazing.
Now they're coming up with, you know, like all these quotes and everything. I'm like, it's been a while, guys. I don't remember every single scene. Now I have to rewatch Letterkenny. So yeah, I definitely know people that talk in quotes. Yes.
Language is so important. So whether high five is just slipping into casual Spanish, or Miko is saying Jinkies, or some of the stuff we invented, like Oshmup, which was invented by Ashley, and you know, she did so many great like little terms that were just unique to her writing. Yeah, it just feels more real because we don't always understand everything we're hearing, but you kind of can grasp the meaning and the intent. The only rule we had was that we never, you know, we never hung plot points on those kinds of lines. Yeah. You know, anything you needed to understand to get through the story, we didn't mess with. And that's why we didn't get a lot of notes from the network, I think, because they knew it was just, that stuff was just kind of in between the really important lines. So they didn't police us very much.
Is there a video game or movie that you guys haven't gotten to do in the show that you want to do?
A lot. Yeah. I mean, there's I think I mentioned this another time, but my son played Hello Neighbor. Mm-hmm. He's really into that. And I was thinking like, man, that would be fun, you know, because I understood why he liked it. I understood like why he was so into it. And I was like, oh man, that would be cool to see an episode like that where like, you know, they have to play from this point of view of going into some mystery home, and you don't know at which corner somebody's going to come and grab you, you know, just like little things like that. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I think that was part of like the blessing and the curse of like our show, right? It's like so many genres that we can dip into because of the content. Yeah,
it was a nightmare. It was like being a kid in a candy store, but instead of just being like, I can have whatever I want, it was this like dread anxiety of like, I hope I don't choose the wrong one, because it was too much choice. But the wonderful thing is that's, again, why when you focus on character stories, and what the characters are probably going through, you're more likely to find what game or genre will suit that story. And then you get a much better reason to choose one thing or another. Or that's also why you have interesting writers who maybe, you know, we would all talk about our personal relationship with games and what it feels like to be stuck in Castlevania, but also surprised by it. You know, these are the things you love, hate about a game like that. Let's do an episode that captures that. And also, so it's either the feeling of a game you want to capture or the mechanics. So I can kind of answer your question slightly too by saying they're mechanics we love. So if Eric likes Hey Neighbor, we wouldn't just set out to do a straight up parody. We'd say, well, what's cool about it? It's like that thing of you're getting away with something, but oh crap, there's the neighbor, and it's kind of unrelenting. It's like the alien in Alien Isolation.
Yeah, you don't know where it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's got this amazing AI. It's hunting you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that AI from The Neighbor, you know, which is kind of like a kid's comedy horror, but that thing is never going to stop coming. It's like the Terminator. So we would probably play with that feeling.
Yeah,
you know?
feeling is key for us. Like in everything that we did, we always went back to feeling. And you know, if the feeling felt right, if that's how we would feel as those kids, then we knew we were in the right direction with the story.
And you look for different perspectives. There's a young kid who's going to be truly terrified by it, truly terrified. And then there's an older person who's like, the game's dumb.
Yeah.
So if you can capture those POVs and put them on 2 or more characters, that's great too. And that's Mitch Williams saying, what's this stupid old school ping glitch? And High Five saying, hey, that's for my father's generation. And then you put into that this little Pong blip that will just, you know, kick your ass if you get in its way.
Perspectives, and you have them colliding back and forth.
And while they're arguing, what are they doing? They are literally ponging the thing back and forth. And the more they argue, the more intense it gets. And so that's when you kind of feel, oh man, all this is working. Like this episode has to be Pong now because it just fits so well the story. And we don't always get there right away. That's the hardest part. It takes quite a few outlines, quite a few scripts, and then, you know, into the animatic process to really refine that stuff. But that's the magic. I always wanted to do the mechanic in like the Lego games where you can navigate between several characters by pressing the Y button, and then suddenly I'm this member of the team, and now I'm this member.
In order to do X task and everything like that, yeah.
Yeah, so that might be an interesting mechanic. It's not a story, but it's something that goes up on a card that goes on the wall, and if we find the right story that fits it, then we pull it down. So, but there's so many genres we'd love to do, you know. We talked about Katamari Damacy, like that is such an odd PS2 title, I think, and
that would be pretty funny.
Yeah,
a glitch goes out and just starts rolling people up. We'll roll up that one little girl in the sweater who doesn't have hands. The one who played Mario in the pet
Turtle
shop.
Girl.
That one.
Sabrina.
Her name's Sabrina? That's amazing.
Little Sabrina. Sabrina! Yeah.
Yeah, a Dungeons and Dragons episode would be fun.
Yeah, we have one of our.
We have one in our season 3. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be amazing because, I mean, been playing that for a while, so it's like, whenever like I'm
that's the root
loving
of all
this
these games.
Yeah, loving this like resurgence of, you know, like D&D and like tabletop games and everything. It's nice.
We did make some references to D&D in the show. The Sword of Gygax is meant to be like a Gary Gygax reference.
Nice.
You wouldn't have Castlevania if you didn't have D&D. We mentioned Dave Arneson in one of our episodes. And, there was another thing. Dang it fell out of my head. It'll come back to me. There was another.
Well, like Bergie plays.
Oh, yeah, and it's Bergie talking about RPGs, but also, if you notice in the beginning of the Pong episode, they're playing a board game, and we just thought, hey, let's not snub, you know, we love all games. Let's show them playing an analog game.
Yeah.
You know, just without pulling a lot of attention to it. We just thought it was cool that when you're in the break room, you're rolling dice. When you're not plugged in, they're still gathering.
You're still gaming. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Nice.
tabletop was the birth of all of it. It was the first algorithm, you know.
Oh man, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
Glad.
I hoped you had a good time. Otherwise, I wasted an hour of your lives. So, but where can everybody find you guys, social media wise? Eric.
You can find me on Twitter at legit Eric Robles. You can find me on Instagram at Robles with 3 R or 4 R's altogether. Robles.
Hold on, is it
I
3 or
like to
4
roll
R's?
them R's. Robles.
Is it 3 or 4 R's?
It's 4 R's.
Oh.
4.
He's gonna add another one. He's gonna add a 5th R.
Right
That's where
into
5
the
comes
right.
from.
Yeah.
That's the amount of R's in Eric's Instagram handle.
Yes.
And I'm less and less a Facebook guy, so you know,
Yeah.
Eric Robles, I guess, on that. But yeah, less and less. So
yeah, Nancy there.
and Dan.
I'm at Dan Milano on Twitter. I'm D Milano Glitch Tech on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. I have other accounts that I don't maintain properly, so those are the 2 places to reach me.
His MySpace account, he hasn't used that in years.
Yeah.
He had an old GeoCities account, doesn't touch that anymore.
I was in America Online build 1.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody still remember their AIM? Their AIM usernames?
No. Oh yeah, I was probably Ectomobile. I was Ectomobile.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's better than the anime mashup that I used to have. And we'll put everybody's social media links in the show notes with the Glitch Text ones and the Netflix Glitch Text link, so you can go and watch Netflix. If you haven't already, why? It's on there. You got 2 seasons. 2nd season just came out. We didn't spoil anything. Like
no,
we
didn't. You talked a lot about it, but you didn't spoil.
Yeah, we didn't even mention the fact that, you know, Mitch dies at the end of the season 2. Guys, we did
Somebody
it.
had to.
I think
That's how you win Emmys, guys. That's how you win Emmys. You kill a character, it's an Emmy.
Didn't I tell you, Dan? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you? That's what we have to do.
I was telling the guys.
They put us up for an award. I have no idea. You know, I just heard somebody attended a live stream of the Casa Grandes on Twitch, on the Nickelodeon on the Nickelodeon Twitch channel, and somebody in the audience was like, "I have a question. Are you going to do a Glitch Text stream?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're looking into that." They're not. I haven't looked into it. I really hope that.
Hold on, I think they're calling me. Hold on.
Yeah, I would.
That's
love
his agent, Dasani.
We would love to see the artists and the animators get some recognition for their work. But if nothing else, the response online has been overwhelming. If people want to follow hashtag GlitchText, hashtag Renew GlitchText, there has been so much amazing fan art by not only a huge amount of fans, but also the crew continues to do custom art. Some of our animators doing commissions, and they're just publishing new stuff every day. It's gorgeous. And we've been sharing a lot of material that people can look up, like scripts, show documents, art style guides, things that, you know, people who are interested in learning more can take a look at and get their hands on.
Yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm always posting a lot of behind the scenes art and all that good stuff on there. So
sweet.
Yeah, that's how we learned. So we'd love people to study that stuff and have some free education.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, everything's going to be in the show notes. Click on those, follow them, get all the awesome, cool BTS stuff. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Cain. You can find the podcast on Instagram at What's Up Fandom, on Twitter at What's Up Fandom PC for podcast. All of our episodes are available iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and on our website, animationstationpodcast.com, because I haven't changed it yet. Because it just renewed like in July, and then we rebranded in August. So I'm like, I've already spent the money. I'm just gonna keep it till it has to renew again. Lazy.
You got to rememorize your whole thing, and
exactly. It was tough. Oh man, I don't know how many times like I've done the Twitter and Instagram at Animation Station Pod. Oh, no, that's not right. It's all wrong. So guys, again, thank you so much for coming on. Renew glitch text. Hashtag renew glitch text. Done. We did it, guys. You heard it here first. We
got 10 more shows for you, and we've dropped a lot of information about what's in those 10 episodes. They're pretty much all done. They just need to be shipped for animation. So if anybody wants to see them, hit up Nickelodeon, Netflix, let them know you like the show. If you really enjoyed it, watch it again, because when Netflix sees that you're not done and you're hungry for more, that's what tells them that maybe they need to pick it up. Otherwise, they just figure you'll move on to, whatever else they got for you.
Definitely. All right. So, again, thanks, everybody, for coming on. So, for What's Up Fandom, I'm Josh.
I'm
Eric Robles.
And that was What Was Up.
Fandom.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
This writer is my philosophy about living in such a world.